Post-election 2020, it is a crazy place, and we're just wondering how you folks are doing out there. Hey, gang, I'm Jim.
And Christie.
Jacobus with Your Marriage Matters podcast number 126. And, babe, we are just a handful of days after the election. As we sit and do this podcast, they've declared Joe Biden the winner. Of course, a lot of people don't think that's true because Trump's taking everybody to court. I mean, it is maybe one of the craziest times I have seen in my life. So
it is. It's been so typical of 2020, hasn't it?
Absolutely perfect.
So
thank God we only have a couple of months left.
There you go. It reminds me of a quote that Barbara Bush once said about it's more important what happens at your house than what happens at the White House. So what happens at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is very important in the world standing, but what's even more important is what happens at your house.
Absolutely, babe. So today, gang, what we're going to talk about is what do we do? All right. Again, I know that the election impacts our lives, but you and I are both of the opinion that we have far more control over the quality of our life than either Joe Biden or Donald Trump or whoever happens to be in power up there. And so, gang, today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what can you do in this crazy time to take full control of and make the best out of your life. And again, if you're here for the first time, welcome. Glad to have you here. It is a crazy time, you know, and it impacts relationships. It impacts marriages. It's impacting families in negative ways and some in positive ways. So we wanted to make sure that we tackled this whenever we were discussing what we were going to do about this particular podcast. It only made sense, babe, that we deal with the election.
Right, because it's so important, because it is what's happening in the world, and it is something that will impact us. And I don't mean to negate the fact that what happens at the White House isn't important, because it is.
Yeah.
It sets a legacy, but what happens at your house does the same, and you have more control over that.
Yeah, absolutely. Way more important there. And for those of you who've been with us, welcome back. Glad to have you here. Again, we're starting kind of a new series coming out of the work that we've been doing on YouTube. Looks like we're going to bail on the YouTube channel. Christie's happy about that. Yay. And not because of any struggle with video or anything like that, because we did a great job. You did a great job. Just because we feel like for us moving forward, this is the best route to go. And so, babe, when I think about what's happening out there, I mean, I'm conservative, but I'm probably middle of the road. And even if I'm conservative, I work hard to try to see both sides of that. I think you'd agree with that. Exactly. And I will take on a crazy righty or lefty, either one, at any point in time, and just get them to think about what's going on. But as we come out of this election and you look on social media, I just see a continuum of people, if you will. And to kind of give a context as to how we're going to tackle this today, you've got people on the very far right who are very angry right now. The election was stolen, voter fraud, taking the position, not my president, I will never support them. Conspiracy theories running crazy, rampant out there. And then there's people on the far left who are dancing a jig and actually, celebrating in the streets. And quite frankly, I see a lot of gloating going on, a lot of arrogance, a lot of told you so's and everything. So those are kind of the far ends of the spectrum. And I've seen a little bit of both of those, even a direct message this morning from somebody that thought I was a Biden supporter and was going to come with his clan and escort me out of the state of Texas, which I can tell you where my address is. You're welcome to come look me up anytime you want to. Feel free. And then I think the majority of us are kind of in the middle wondering, what do we do? Yeah. What are we going to do about all of this? And so, gang, we're going to talk about some stuff that we're going to do. And, babe, you're going to talk about what I think is really cool. Is about something we've learned over the last couple of months on the 68 days of traveling all over this country, and it's having faith.
Right. As you just said, we have been so fortunate and so blessed to spend the last nearly 2.5 months on a trip throughout this beautiful country that's ours. There's amazing. So many lessons to be learned about the just awesome beauty in so many places that we've seen. We got to see the leaves change color in the fall. and we got to see beautiful mountains and
sunrises
and sunsets. And we are so very blessed to live in a beautiful country. We have a history that we can be proud of. We haven't been perfect, but we have a framework for doing our government that when you explore it and when you look into it, you've got to realize that we were given some great tools for how a government should be run. There's checks and balances there. And one of the things that I'll share with people, if there is a problem with voter fraud, if there's a problem with how people who have the liberty and the ability to vote, if there's something that's been done improperly, it does need to be investigated.
Absolutely.
I'll support that in any state, no matter who wins, because that is against what we believe to be self-evident.
Yeah, I think even if it doesn't change the results of the election, it
Yes.
needs to be pursued and prosecuted so that people don't feel like they can get away with that in the future.
Right, because it is a privilege to get to vote.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that people have fought and died for. So if there's anything that's wrong with the voting and how it was done, then it does need to be looked at. I still tell people all the time, with a country of so many brilliant minds, why do we have antiquated systems in place? But that's for another
podcast
yes.
right there, yes.
But if we saw the amazing beauty that the country has, one of the things that was even more impressive about our country was the people.
Yes.
And we went to states and got to talk to and see their region through their eyes. And it was such a eye-opening experience because we do live in a great nation. We do have so many things going for us, and we do owe it to ourselves to make this country as good as it should be. And one of the things that we saw is no matter what people say, this is not a mandate. This country has people on both sides who are very strong in their opinions of what should be done for our country. And we do need to look at what we can do to come together as Americans. And like I said, it was obvious as we went around the country that there was support in both camps.
Right.
And so I think one of the things that is so important for us to remember is we need to have faith. We need to have faith in this great country that we have. We have to have a faith in God because at the end of the day, it really is in his hands. Anyway, if Barbara Bush said it matters more what happens at your house rather than the White House, we've got to remember who still remains on the throne.
Yeah, I shared a message with somebody just before I came in here and recorded this podcast. Do you think God cares which one of these two guys wins? Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, absolutely. My guy, it wins because God's in my camp and everything. And I was like, well, now why do you make it so close if that's the case, He could have gotten rid of enough votes or created enough votes if that was the case. So, babe, I totally agree with you. We got to have faith in our processes. We have to have faith in our systems. And that system is designed for people to make the decision about which direction they want our country to go. And I don't, by any means think this is the end of the world because pendulum always swings back and forth. But I wrote down here that I think one of the things we need during this day and age is we need to learn how to show grace toward others. Mm-hmm. If somebody's hurting out there, somebody's scared out there, somebody thinks their life is going to be upended because of whichever result we have, I think we need to extend grace to them, which is to understand, to listen, to hear them, find out what it is they have to say, find out what they're afraid of, and if there's some reason they should be afraid, then what can we do to help mitigate that? Or if they're afraid for no reason at all, how do we lead them to a place where they can be confident like you and I are, that our country's going to be fine, the world's not going to come to an end, and that, like you and I said, what matters most is what happens at our house, not the White House. I saw somebody post on social media that if you let either one of these two guys alter your relationship with somebody that you love or you care that's in your family, then you got this backwards.
Right. I'll be honest, I'm kind of struggling with that.
Yeah.
Because there have been some times, and because I work as a counselor on a platform, on Tuesday, I was really telling people, to do some stuff to create positive, but I myself had to use that because there were people who were sharing things and just being hateful. That the good thing is on social media, you have an option. You don't have to engage, and you don't have to read it. You can just scroll on by. Some people, I went a step further. They're going to be snoozed for the next 30 days.
Take a little Facebook nap.
Yeah, they're gonna go into Napster mode. But I still think that's one of the things you can do on social media. You can't necessarily always do that face to face with family members. And in something that was interesting, it said in marriage, a lot of times you might have a difference in a lot of thoughts and a lot of opinions, but it seems to be that political views tend to be pretty much shared. And I thought that was interesting, because this would be difficult if you are having different thoughts on how the election came down and you are on different side of the political process.
Yeah, what I think is kind of funny in this idea of grace is there are people out there right now who are going, look, well, I put up with this now for 4 years, and I've had to hold my tongue, and you've been blah, blah, blah. And I want to go, so you don't think 4 years from now it might flip around? I mean, what goes around comes around. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't like the way they treated you, why would you then treat them that way?
Yeah.
It seems so counterproductive. And, I have posted some, I think, healing messages the last day or so. And I've had so many good friends come out and say, hey, thanks for this. We need this. I needed that. Mm-hmm. And you know what? That's such a much better feeling than, boo-boo, whatever. Again, what goes around comes around. If you think your turn's not coming, then I just think grace is a great thing for now. So,
but the other thing is that I saw, and I think this is very important too, to thank President Trump.
Absolutely.
Because he did a lot of hard work for nothing.
Yeah.
He gave his salary away. And there will be people who say, well, he didn't have to. None of the presidents who've come before him have probably needed the salary that they had to. They were wealthy. But for President Trump to take some of the criticism and the heat, sometimes he brought it on himself.
You think?
But he does deserve our gratitude for what he's done for the country and how he's worked very hard. Now, you might not have agreed with him ideologically, but he has worked hard to do what he thought was best for our country.
Absolutely. And again, gang, if you think Christie's a big Trump supporter, don't buy into that and get all upset out there. Christie's just acknowledging what we should do for every president, whether we agree or not agree. It's just thanking for their service. Mm-hmm. Just like we would thank a military person, we'd thank a police officer or whatever. Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
And so, gang, there's two, I think, really kind of principle-based things, which is one, have faith in our country, and two is be gracious during a difficult time for people. But babe, let's talk about what we can do to take control at our house. What can we do to, let's take control of what we can. All right. I have very little control over what President Trump has done or what potentially President Biden's going to do. I have very little control over that, but I have total control what happens here. Well, at least a perception of control that you let me have from time to time. What are some active things we can do? What are some thoughts you have about somebody listening right now? What can they actively do no matter which end of that spectrum they're on?
Well, it was John Kennedy who said, ask what you can do for your country, not what your country can do for you. Be a good citizen.
Yeah.
I have told people, and in my own small way, this matters to me. I do care about the environment. I care about protecting this beautiful natural resource that we have. So the degree that I can, I'm going to reuse and recycle when it makes sense. And it usually makes a lot of sense. So will it have a huge impact? It will here. It'll make a difference here. So I think, doing what we can to make an impact on the things that we can, such as helping with the environment. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think the whole idea of taking action, anytime, if we're dealing with people that are depressed or anxious, whatever, one of the best things they can do is go volunteer somewhere.
Exactly.
Go volunteer at a homeless shelter. Go volunteer at a soup kitchen. Go volunteer at a food bank or something like that. That'll make you be thankful for what you have.
Definitely.
Even in the midst of, worrying about what the future looks like, that'll make you very thankful for what your current situation is. And so I think being intentional and active, we talk about that all the time. Mm-hmm. Don't just sit back and be passive. I mean, if you really are worried about it, go get involved in a political campaign. Exactly. All right. They're going to come around in 2 years. Mm-hmm. So find somebody in your neighborhood, that you can support at a grassroots level, because the grassroots local campaigns are going to have a far more impact on your actual day-to-day life than any national campaigner. Go participate in helping your senator or your congressperson. I almost said congressman, congressperson and everything. Go be active about things. Don't sit back and let things happen to you without taking action. And I think that's always a very important thing to do.
Right. And I love the fact that you said get involved with politics. I have, as most people can attest, have not posted anything on social media of a political nature because I don't want to, I'm not an expert in that. I don't want to convey to anybody anything that is not well researched and well thought out. And it's probably because of my training as a nurse because we used to have to ask people all the time, what would you do if a patient brought up a political thing, and it's always back about them. But I also remember to go into Nurses Day at the Capitol, and one of the people who is a congressional representative at the state capitol is actually a nurse, and she said, my job is to do what's in the best interest of the citizens of the state of Texas, and it doesn't matter if a great idea is a Democratic idea or a Republican idea, what's going to be in the best interest for my constituents. Yeah. And I've always thought, there's a lot on both sides that I feel are great ideas for our country. They're, great ideas for the direction of our country. So I think one of the things that we can all do is to get involved and be knowledgeable about what's going on. I have a good friend who I've always told her I was going to be her campaign manager when she runs for some kind of office, because she does need to. She does. Yes. We need bright, gifted people who are at that. She just happens to be a female, but she comes with such passion for government, too, that she'll do a great job.
Yeah, Allison, we're talking about you, so get ready. Well, babe, so there's, again, I think some really important things to do, but we really want to give you some homework this week, gang. And, babe, we teach this a lot. And I think, first thing, it's a great habit to get into, but particularly if you're worried, you're concerned, or anything like that, I think this is the best advice we can give. And, gang, we're going to challenge you this week to just take a few moments and sit down and make a list of 10 things you're thankful for. Learning to be thankful in the midst of any kind of a challenge will point to us that, I may be challenged right now, but look at all the blessings I have. And so we're going to encourage you to do that. And if you want to, go to our Facebook group, Your Marriage Matters, and post it there. Or you can post it as a comment and reply to this blog post where we'll be putting the podcast up. And babe, I would say this too: if you're out there and you're really worried and you need help, reach out to us. We'd be glad to talk with you, visit with you. You can call us on the phone. Just let us know you need help. We'll be there for you. And babe, you mentioned this a while ago, but I don't think we've had a chance to really share with people. You're now working online for BetterHelp and Talkspace as an online counselor.
Yeah. It came upon so soon.
It did happen fast.
It did. And I just, how you say, I'm going to wait and I'm going to do that when we get back on our trip. And the process just went so smoothly and efficiently. Before you knew it, I have 35 clients online, and I'm really loving the process. It's funny.
You're learning.
That probably the person who's least likely to be technologically oriented don't really love technology all that much. My friends have heard me say from time to time, "Where's my phone?" because I've lost it. The other day, Lachlan said, "Where's your phone?" And I said, "I think it's out in the car or something." He goes, "You don't have your phone on you?" Lachlan's our 8-year-old grandson. And I said, "No, hon, I didn't need it." And he goes, "Do you want to go get it?" I was like,
well, he was already realizing he's going to help you down the road. So.
Yeah, no kidding. So anyway, but back to the online platform, really having a great time with it. Tons of great resources out there for people. And like I said, in times like these, if you feel like you need help, reach out for it. And one of the things I was challenging most of my clients last week is the gratitude, but also what's something you can do today that's going to help you in 5 years? What today could you do that's going to make an impact for yourself in 5 years? Is it getting debt free? Is it being happier? Is it starting exercise? Is it taking your health serious? What is it that you can do today for you and your family that you'll see the benefit in 5 years?
Yeah. So, gang, we appreciate you. Glad to have you here. Babe, whenever I think about that list of 10 things that I'm thankful for, my first 5 are always the same. It starts off with my faith, which I think that's how God ordained it, was that would be more important, but you're always right behind. And I think one of the reasons I'm blessed is because I'm privileged to do this life with you. Mm-hmm. And we're having a great time out here. For those of you worried about us and wondering if we're going to make it traveling all over the country, living in 430 square feet, babe, I'm going to report back that it's going really well. Better than we thought it was. So I just wanted to tell you I love you, I appreciate you, and I thank you so much. It's my life with you that makes me not worry about any of this other stuff, because this matters far more than that does. Yeah. So thank you, sweetie.
And even though our home might look different than it has in years past, what matters in our home matters more to me. And I'll work to make this home the healthiest and happiest it can be.
Absolutely. So, gang, catch you next week. Take care.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Your Marriage Matters with the Jacobuses. If you have any questions you would like to see us answer or an idea for a future episode, please go to www.yourmarriage-matters.com/QIF and let us know. We will do our very best to make it happen. And if you enjoyed the podcast, we encourage you to share it with your friends that are engaged or seriously dating. We are growing like crazy because you are passing it on. So thank you. That's it for today. We'll see you next week on Your Marriage Matters. Have a great conversation this week.